Okay, so let's jump right in. We're going to talk about a scientific revolution that just completely reshaped our entire world, and it did it in only 50 years. Think about that. We're going to trace this absolutely frantic relay race of discovery, one that took humanity from a world of gas lamps and horse-drawn carriages all the way to the dawn of the atomic age. So, to really wrap our heads around this, you have to transport yourself back to 1895. I mean, really picture it. There are no airplanes, no cars. The streets literally smell of horses, not exhaust fumes. The fastest way to get news is by post. The absolute peak of technology, a steamship. And there was this incredible feeling of optimism, a sense that the great laws of physics, well, they were pretty much all figured out. Science, everyone thought, was just about to solve, well, everything. And this quote from Louis Pasteur, who actually died that same year, it just perfectly captures that feeling, that profound faith in science. The belief was everywhere. These laboratories, these temples of humanity, they were going to conquer war, poverty, ignorance, the whole shebang. They were going to lead us all into a golden age. But, beneath all that calm confidence, something was brewing. A series of completely unexpected discoveries were about to fire the starting pistol on a race that would change everything. Those quiet, revered temples of science, they were about to be shaken right to their very foundations.
And it all kicked off almost by accident. You've got this guy, Wilhelm Röntgen, just working away with cathode rays. Think of them as beams of electrons in a vacuum tube. And suddenly, he stumbles onto something, well, spectacular. He finds these mysterious new rays that could just pass right through solid objects, even flesh, and they could expose a photographic plate on the other side. For the very first time, we could actually see inside a living human body. Can you imagine? It was shocking, it was like magic, and it was the first real clue that our neat and tidy understanding of matter was about to be blown wide open.
All right, so that discovery lights the fuse. Now we're moving into the first leg of this incredible relay race. This is where scientists really started to pull at the threads to unravel the secrets hidden deep inside the atom itself. And you have to remember, for a lot of scientists back then, the atom wasn't even considered real. It was just, a useful idea, a fiction, not a physical thing.
So Röntgen's work gets people talking, and it inspires another scientist, Henri Becquerel, and he stumbles onto an even deeper mystery. He discovers that a chunk of uranium salt, just sitting in a drawer, mind you, could give off its own invisible rays, all by itself. No energy source needed. I mean, this wasn't a reflection, it wasn't some temporary glow, this was pure energy just pouring out of what looked like a boring, inert rock. What was going on? The race was officially on to find the source. And it turned out that mysterious energy, it was coming from the atom itself. Some elements, it seems, were just naturally unstable. They were constantly breaking down, spitting out particles and energy. It was Marie Curie who would give this process a name, radioactivity. And this was a huge deal. It meant the atom wasn't some solid, permanent little billiard ball. No, it was a dynamic, even violent place.
And speaking of Marie Curie, you really have to appreciate the incredible human cost of this research. She and her husband, Pierre, they took on this absolutely monumental task of isolating these new radioactive elements. And where did they do it? In what was basically a leaky, drafty shack. No proper ventilation. They worked for years like this, constantly sick, run down. Marie lost almost 20 pounds just during the process of isolating radium. Think about that. They were literally paying for this knowledge with their own health, and they didn't even know it. They were poisoning themselves in the pursuit of science.
So next up, Ernest Rutherford grabs the baton in this scientific relay. And his experiments, man, they just completely flipped the old model of the atom on its head. He showed that the atom wasn't a solid little sphere at all. Nope, it was almost entirely empty space. All of its positive charge and pretty much all of its mass was crammed into this impossibly tiny, dense point right at the center. He called it the nucleus. And this was a total game changer. Why? Because it meant there was a concentration of energy locked in that tiny space that was just orders of magnitude greater than anything humanity had ever conceived of before. Okay, so the race is heating up. Now we're heading into the next leg. And this is where things get truly weird. I mean, so strange that the fundamental rules of reality, everything we thought we knew, were suddenly up for grabs. That comfortable, predictable clockwork universe, it was on its last legs.
And you know what's funny? The quantum revolution didn't start with a big triumphant shout. It began more like a reluctant whisper. You had Max Planck, who was just trying to figure out a nagging problem about the energy radiated by hot objects. And to solve it, he came up with this really radical idea, an idea that he himself found deeply unsettling. In fact,
He later called it an act of desperation.
So what was this desperate idea? Well, Planck proposed that energy doesn't flow continuously, like water from a tap. Instead, it comes in these tiny, separate packets he called quanta. And that one single idea, it shattered everything. The old, predictable Newtonian universe was gone. In its place was this strange, fuzzy world of probabilities, a world where just the act of observing something could actually change the outcome. This wasn't just some new theory, you guys. This was a full-blown philosophical crisis. It meant that at its very core, the universe wasn't a predictable machine at all. It was governed by pure chance.
Well, this brand new physics needed some brand new leaders, and they emerged at the famous Solvay conferences. You had these brilliant minds, giants like Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr, literally wrestling with what it all meant. And this wasn't just some polite scientific disagreement. No, this was a battle for the very soul of physics itself. Was the universe a grand, predictable machine, just like Einstein so deeply wanted to believe? Or was it fundamentally random and uncertain right down at its core?
And that brings us to the final, frantic leg of the race, the last sprint, and the goal, to finally unlock that immense power that Rutherford had discovered, locked deep inside that tiny, dense atomic nucleus. This wasn't just about pure scientific curiosity anymore, though. Now there was the looming shadow of a global war driving everything forward.
Just look at this timeline. The pace just becomes absolutely breathtaking. What started out as abstract theory on a chalkboard suddenly became a very real matter of global survival. The huge breakthrough was the discovery of nuclear fission in 1938. The idea that if you could split one uranium atom, it would release neutrons that could then go on to split other atoms, creating a chain reaction. All of a sudden, releasing that vast energy from the nucleus and releasing it all at once wasn't theoretical anymore. It was possible.
And what's so chilling is that Pierre Curie had basically seen this coming. Way back in his Nobel speech, decades earlier, he warned everyone. He said this new knowledge could be incredibly dangerous in the wrong hands. He even asked, is humanity mature enough to profit from it? Or will this knowledge just end up being harmful? Well, his question was about to be answered, and in the most dramatic, terrifying way imaginable.
The answer, of course, was the Manhattan Project. We're not talking about a few scientists in a lab anymore. Oh no, this was a massive, top-secret, nationwide effort. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people, an absolutely unprecedented fusion of science, industry, and the military, all of them racing against time to build a weapon based on this crazy new physics.
And then it happened. July 16th, 1945. Out in the middle of the New Mexico desert, the finish line of this incredible 50-year race was finally crossed. And in a single, blinding flash of light, the world was changed forever.
Just like that, the atomic age had begun. All that knowledge so painstakingly gathered over decades by Röntgen, the Curies, Rutherford, Planck, all of them, it had given humanity the power to do incredible things, create clean energy, perform medical miracles, but it also gave us the power to destroy ourselves completely. We were now holding the fire of the stars right in our own hands.
So you go from a quiet lab in 1895 to a terrifying new dawn in 1945. A 50-year sprint of pure scientific genius that completely redefined our universe. And it really forces you to ask the question, right? What kind of races are we running today in fields like AI or genetics? And maybe the most important question of all is, are we prepared for what we might find at the finish line?